Welcome to another episode in the Cara-cruiser series.
In this episode, repairs and reinforcements begin. This is where things start getting interesting. I'm using a 650 gram carbon fibre and a polyester resin, as I think that's what it would have been made with originally. There is some debate on whether other resin types are compatible, such as epoxy. I'm using a Lloyd's approved marine grade and mixing it with the catalyst at 2 to 3%. Wetting out the floor first and soaking the top of the foam. When wetting out the fabric, I don't think you can use too much resin, but it ends up being extra weight, and if it isn't consolidated, then the overall strength is reduced because of the higher resin to fabric ratio. I'm going to be vacuum bagging this and consolidating the two plies with a vacuum pump in this case, as access is good. This should give a thickness of just under 2 millimeters. It would be less if curing under pressure, for example in an autoclave. Other ways of doing this would be to use pre-impregnated material that already has the resin soaked through it, or resin infusion. These would both require more money and more equipment though. Red film is a perforated release film called halar. The perforations allow excess resin to pull through and be lifted off after the cure. It also stops the breather sticking to the lamp. That's the white thing down the middle. This helps with airflow and even vacuum distribution. I'm using a simple mobile vac from Easy Composites. The black stuff around the edge is tacky tape, and I'm adding pleats to help the bag fit better and avoid bridging in the corners. I'm not getting a particularly amazing vac on this because there is a leak behind here. I thought this was sealed. Well, this bit was sealed because it was full of water, but it seems like somewhere between the bottom of there and inside here it's pulling air through, so the vac is not very strong. It's still pulling the resin through the perforated halar, so it's better than nothing. Here's the same process at the back. I laid the tacky tape out first as a guide, but you can stick it to the bag first instead. It goes without saying that everything has to be abraded to get a decent keyed surface for the resin to adhere to. It's then thoroughly cleaned with acetone. So this is the grid that the floor sits on top of. As you can see, it's pretty floppy. So the plan is to knock about 12 mil off the bottom of it, which will lower it enough to get a panel, thicker floor panel on top of it. reinforce this structure, I'm using 1 ply of 245 gram fabric and 1 ply of 650 gram. Both fabrics are a 2x2 weave, meaning that each horizontal or weft yarn passes over 2 vertical or warp yarns, then under 2, repeating across the fabric. This is what creates that diagonal zigzag pattern. The 2x2 twill is one of the most popular weaves because it balances aesthetics, drapeability and strength. Not that aesthetics are important for this. Same procedure as the floor, wetting the part, adding the fibre and wetting out the fibre. I'm doing this on a big piece of glass for 3 reasons. One is to keep the whole assembly flat whilst it cures. 2, the overspill of resin can easily be cleaned off. And 3 is that I can bag onto the glass with the tacky tape. I use the living room to apply the tacky tape to the bag, as there's more space and I'm less likely to rip it on something. It also keeps the bag nice and clean. Now you should always make the bag much bigger than it needs to be. thought I did it 3 times longer than the glass, but it actually came up short. Henry Hoover to remove most of the air, then it's on with the valve and the vac pump. Because the bag is so much smaller than it needs to be, I'm just going to use it to consolidate the plies and give them a good squeeze before discarding it and let it cure without pressure. I'm not actually sure if polyester resin is designed for curing under vacuum. It seems to stay sticky for ages when it's in a bag. Time to trim to size. As I mentioned, I'm taking about 12mm off the height, as instead of replacing the floor with a single skin, as it was before, I'm going to make a sandwich board. A Nomex core with a ply of carbon on each side. This will further increase hull strength. Now I'm sanding down the frame, ready for tying into the hull with more carbon fibre. Next time, I get a new hatch and make a frame to fit it with. I introduce another pioneering material. And I make some clamps ready for the transom replacement. As always, thanks for watching. Please like and share, and if you're not already, subscribe. See you next time.